For the moon phases worksheet, you're going to follow these 6 steps for each of the diagrams. Notice the page contains one diagram at the top, one diagram at the bottom. What's being shown here is the sun's rays shining on the moon and the earth. There's an X on the earth to represent the observer, and there's also an arrow to show you which way the earth is rotating. There's the moon, and then this big circle is the path or the orbit that the moon takes around the earth. Step 1 says to draw the terminator for the earth and the moon. The terminator is the line that separates night from day. If the sun is shining here onto the earth, so there's the sun's rays are shining this way, then the terminator that separates night from day for the earth will be a straight line like that. It'll be the same thing for the moon too. Step 2, shade the dark side of the earth and the moon gray. So if the sun is shining here on the moon, that'll be the light side of the moon. This side of the moon will be dark. If you shine a light on a ball, which is really what's happening with the sun shining on the earth and the moon, half of the ball is lit and half of the ball is dark. And that's what gives us our day and night. Just like here on earth, we have day and night as we rotate into the night or into the day. The moon also has a day and a night side. A side that's lit by the sun, a side that's not. Same thing on the earth. Here's our daytime. And there's the nighttime. Step 3. The X represents the location of a person on the earth looking at the moon. Draw a line from the X to each side of the moon. So I'm going to draw a line from the X to this side of the moon, and draw a line from the X to this side of the moon. So if you are there on that X, you're looking this way at the moon. So write how much light you can see and on what side. So if you were that person on the X and you were looking at the moon, you don't see any of the half that's lit. That half we can't see. We can't see the back side of the moon. We can only see what's in front of us. So from Earth, we don't see any light at all. So write how much light you can see. Can't see any light. 5 is sketch and write the name of the moon's phase. So when the moon is in this position, where the sun is shining from the left, there's the Earth, there's the moon. We on Earth, as we look, we can't see any of the moon. That moon phase is called a new moon phase. It's all dark. We don't see any of the part that's lit.
Jasmine Jenkins, if you're in the building, your ride's at the front. Jasmine, your ride's at the front.
We can see that this is called a new moon phase. Question 6 is determine the time of moonrise and moonset. We don't need to do that right now since we can't see the moon, but we'll visit that in the next diagram. You'll notice that this diagram looks very similar. We have the sun shining on the moon and on the earth. But what has happened is the moon is now moved in its orbit to this position. Remember, this big circle here is the path that the moon takes around the earth. So there's the moon in that position, and the moon is moved in its orbit to this position. We're going to follow the same directions that we followed for this first diagram. Draw the terminator for the earth and the moon. So the sun is shining this way. Half of the earth is dark, half of the earth is light. Same for the moon. Step 2, shade the dark side of the earth and moon gray. Optionally, shade the daytime yellow. Step 3, the X represents the location of a person on the earth looking at the moon. Draw a line from the X to each side of the moon. Step 4, write how much light you can see on what side of the diagram. So now as we spin this around, if we are on the X, when we look at the moon, again, we don't see the backside of the moon. We see mostly dark, but there's a little bit of light that we see. Again, we don't see the backside, but we still see a little bit of light on the right-hand side. So the step says to write what we see. We can see a little bit of light on the right. We can see this happening here as the moon moves to that position. Notice the earth rotates as this is happening. The earth is rotating. When the moon is now in this position, we see that half the moon is lit, half the moon is dark, half the earth is lit and dark. But now we can see a little bit of light on the right-hand side. And sure enough, what do we see here? A little bit of light on the right. That's called a waxing crescent. A little bit of light on the right. Earlier, we didn't have to do 6 because we couldn't see a moon, but let's take a look at question 6 now. It says, determine the time of moonrise and moonset. Moonrise and moonset is the same idea as sunrise and sunset. Sunrise is when you can first see the sun in the morning. Sunset is when you can no longer see it. Same thing is true for the moon. When can you see the moon? When can you not see the moon? Let's take a little bit closer look at the Earth. And I'm going to draw some of the times on the Earth. As the sun shines on the Earth and we rotate around, we rotate through daytime and nighttime, right here would be the middle of the night, or 12 midnight. This is the middle of the day, or what we call 12 noon. Since we're rotating around this way, this point right here is where we go from night into day. That's the morning, so that point would be 6 a.m. This point down here, as we rotate from day to night would be 6 p.m. Let's take a look at when we can see the moon and when we can't. So remember, moonrise is when you can first see the moon. In this diagram, we know that if we're here, and that time is a little after midnight, but before 6 a.m., maybe 2 or 3 in the morning, we can't see the moon because the Earth is in the way. So you can't see the moon from that point right there. Similar to this diagram here. If this person is right here, that person cannot see the moon. The Earth is in the way. So when can that person first see the moon?
Savannah jury, if you're in the building, come to the comments now, please. Savannah jury, if you're in the building, come to the comments now.
The first time this person can see the moon is going to be right about here. If we take a look, now that person can look to see the moon at that spot. So moonrise would happen right around this time. Well, there's 6 a.m., there's 12 a.m., and if you look at a clock, what's in between 6 and 12? 9. So that moonrise is about 9 a.m., halfway between 6 a.m. and 12 noon. We can see the moon, can see it, we can see it, we can see it, we can see it. But then we get to a point where we can no longer see the moon. That's happening right about here at that point. That is also between 6 and 12. It is also 9, but in this case, it's 9 p.m. It turns out that that time of moonrise and moonset are always going to be about 12 hours away from each other. So if I can pretend I'm here, I can't see the moon. I can start seeing the moon right now, and I can't see the moon there. We can see something similar on this, that at sunrise, it's hard for this person to see the moon. The Earth is still in the way. They probably can't see it till we get to that point right there. And then they go through the day, noon, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right around after 9. Now you're on the other side.
Bus rider 472, your bus 424 is here in the loop. Bus 424 is here in the loop.
At this point, you can't see the moon. This is sunrise 6, 7, 8, right around 9 o'clock. This person can now look to see the moon. Noon, 1, 2, 3, 4 in the afternoon, 5, 6, this person can still see the moon. 7, 8, right around here at 9. Now that person is going to get to the point where they move to the other side of the Earth, opposite where the moon is. So they won't be able to see the moon at that time. So we have a moonrise at 9 a.m. and a moon set at 9 p.m. There's the first 2 diagrams. The next 6 diagrams continue to move the moon in its orbit. Now to this spot and then to here. You're welcome to use the textbooks, the internet to help you with the names, as well as some of the moonrise and moonset times. But just make sure that you follow these 6 steps.